All right, so I was just sitting here watching this video on YouTube, and I'm just trying to brush up on a lot of the happenings of the NBA free agency, and I'm trying to stay up to date with a lot of the news. And I don't know, I saw this video with Stephen A. Smith completely losing his mind, acting like the end of the world is near because the New York Knicks didn't get Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. Now, the reasons why I believe that the Knicks didn't get Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant, it has to be because of management. I mean, this team is not a bad team when you look at it. I mean, you have Mitchell Robinson, who had a decent year last year. Dennis Smith Jr. had his moments. I mean, it seems like they had 3 point guards on the team that could start for the team on any given day. And I'm not saying they will start at a high level, but they can give you valuable minutes. So, and honestly, I think they need to move one or maybe two of those point guards and try to, strike some kind of deal. But instead of getting Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, the only thing that they could muster was Julius Randle, Bobby Portis, Taj Gibson. I forgot who the other guy was. But let me say this, man. Julius Randle is not a bad consolation prize. And the fact that the Knicks gave him a $35 million contract for 3 years. No, shit, I'm tripping. They gave him like a 68. Sorry, I don't know why I thought 38. I was thinking like $30 million a year, but or $20 million a year, but they gave him a $60 million contract for 3 years. I don't think that's a bad deal, especially when you look at Otto Porter's contract, Harrison Barnes' contract, and I think a lot of people would agree, coming out of Golden State and coming out of Washington, or being in Washington, that Julius Randle has a lot more promise than both of those guys. So I don't really think that was a bad consolation prize. It may not see, and this is the problem. This is why people think that a lot of the moves that these teams make are bad. Just like when the Knicks drafted Kristaps Porzingis. It's because the expectation is what let people down. It's not the moves that are letting people down. It's the people's expectations in their mind that we could do this, we could do that, and if the team doesn't do any of those things, they feel like it has been a massive disappointment. And case in point, and it's just the only case that I need to make, is when Kristaps Porzingis was drafted. Kristaps Porzingis was drafted, he was booed. They did not like the move, they hated him. They was like, why did you get this kid? We could have went anywhere else. And Phil Jackson was looked at as being damn near senile. And then what happened? He get out there on the court, he balls out his rookie year. This dude plays extremely well his rookie year. And then everybody's singing his praises. Because most people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. The draft, free agency, you don't know what you're getting. Sorry. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting until the results come in. Just like Golden State came out of nowhere. People thought Stephen Curry was a really good player. May not have been superstar material for the NBA because of his size. But dude turns into a 2-time MVP, 3-time NBA champion. And the flip side of that is when the Warriors got DeMarcus Cousins, everybody expected them to be a serious contender for the but no, they expected them to win the NBA finals. But injuries came through. You say these things are unpredictable. No one can predict these things. Sometimes people get lucky in predicting them, or some people really do have faith that certain things will happen. But that don't make it true. That don't mean it will happen. So we don't know what's going to happen with Julius. Julius Randle could turn into a 25, 13, and like 5 player. He could turn into that. And Bobby Portis is not nothing to sneeze at. You're talking about a 6'10", power forward that can get you maybe 10 to 15 points, possibly shoot maybe 30-35% from three, if if the development is good enough in New York. So I don't know. I wouldn't sneeze at it too much, man.
Shin says run out, and the worst nightmare of the fans of the New York Knicks has come true. We are delighted to welcome in on a very difficult day for him, the one and only Stephen A. Smith. Go ahead, Stephen A. The floor is 100% yours.
I don't even want the floor.
Okay, I'll take it.
I mean, it's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am about the New York Knicks. I mean,
and that's a massive problem. If you're depressed by the moves of an NBA basketball team, that's a massive problem. I remember when I was younger and I was super into sports. Like, I was so invested in the sports that when I used to be a New York Jets fan when I was like a little kid, because that was the only team that I knew about. I didn't know about any other team but the Jets. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be a Jets fan. And when the Jets played the Eagles, I think around 2003, 2004, when the Jets played the Eagles, and it was just a back and forth game, and it was a back and forth game late, and the Eagles wound up winning 24-17. And the Jets had the ball last to potentially tie the game up when they couldn't get the job done. And I was surrounded by Eagles fans. I cried. I was a little kid. I was like 11 years old, 12 years old, so I cried. But I didn't understand the business of the professional sports. I didn't understand the fandom. And how sometimes these sports is almost like mind control in a way where it can literally affect how you feel if you give into it too much. So once I stopped doing that, I stopped being upset about certain things. There's still a part of me, with me being a Patriots fan, with me being a Boston Celtics fan, there's still a part of me that, I don't know, that feels some emotions. I just don't express them like I used to before. But it's getting to the point where a lot of moves that they make, a lot of draft picks that they get, I'm more excited, if anything, because I can't wait to see what comes next. So I don't know, and that goes for me with any other team. I don't wish injury on anybody. If a team wins, I think that they did more than enough to deserve the win. Like, I'm willing to take the emotion out of it, and it makes it a lot easier to watch a lot of this stuff.
you lose Kevin Durant, you lose Kyrie Irving. That's bad. You lose them to the Brooklyn Nets. 20 minutes away. Not 20 miles, 20 minutes away. And that's only because you got to take into account traffic. It's actually quicker. And then you reminisce and you're reminded that they let go of Kristaps Porzingis. Now, if you listen to the Knicks, they'll say, we moved Kristaps Porzingis because Kristaps...
No, and he's going to say that Kristaps wanted to leave. I don't think that's true at all. I believe, I'm not going to say I think, I believe the process of the Knicks thinking was, all right, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, all these guys are going to be free agents. Klay Thompson, all these guys are going to be free agents next year. Who else is going to be? Do you know who else was a free agent this year? Kristaps. So if we're going to be able to get two superstars on max contracts, if we're going to be able to do that, we probably have to move Kristaps because he's going to demand the max, probably. Well, most likely he'll get the max. So they had to move him to make room, and they had to tank. They had to move him early enough, and they had to tank quick enough so they could get a high draft pick, and they could also have enough money to pull in two free agents out of free agency. That's their thinking. This is why they traded Kristaps, because when I saw the trade, I was like, why did they trade this dude away? Like, what the hell happened? Like, he wasn't hurt. I mean, he might have been hurt. I'm not going to say he wasn't hurt. He might have been hurt. But if he was hurt, I don't know why Dallas would make that deal. Unless you're expecting him to come back. But you move him because you want to make enough room for Kevin. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and you want to tank good enough to where you could potentially get a high lottery pick. So not only do you have two superstars coming in, you're able to draft like a top 10 player. But for them, it was a top 5 player. They got R.J. Barrett. So I don't know, man. I don't think it had anything to do with Kristaps leaving. I think Kristaps wanted to leave? Sure. I think Knicks management makes it so that players that have potential to be something special in the league really doesn't want to be a part of what the Knicks are trying to do, if the Knicks even know what they're trying to do.
Came into our office, told us he wanted out. Okay? You listen to other folks, they talk about it. He didn't necessarily want out. He just wanted to meet with Dolan. Dolan has nothing to do with basketball operations. It's really about Steve Mills and those guys. Whatever the damn story is. Do you know why Kristaps Porzingis was called the Unicorn? Kevin Durant gave him that nickname. That's who gave him that nickname. Which means that Kevin Durant liked him. Which means that he was an attractive commodity to Kevin Durant. Which means that if you...
Because I didn't understand why he was called the Unicorn until I watched him play. And this dude is, for anybody that watches the NBA, this dude is special. I mean, you're talking about at 7 foot, this dude is able to, I mean, a legitimate 7 foot, not a Kevin Durant 7 foot where he's like 6'11" and some change, and they're just saying he's 7 foot. He's a legitimate 7 footer, 7'1", 7'2", somewhere in that range. This dude can shoot it from anywhere on the floor. He can score efficiently inside the post. He's very agile. I mean, this dude is special. He's a top 5 power forward in this league. He could be the best power forward in this league if he ever get his body right. If he gets his body right and he works a lot more on refining his game, I'm telling you, Kristaps Porzingis could be a top 10, top 5 NBA player in the coming years, man, because this dude is just special. He's special. You really don't see too many guys like him.
Kristaps Porzingis, you might have improved your chances of having Kevin Durant. So it's bad enough that yesterday.
But that's the thing. They didn't look. If they could have kept Kristaps, brought in Kevin, and then brought in Kyrie, it's weird that they would have had 3 superstars or 3-star players with K's in their name. I just noticed stupid shit like that. But if they could have had all 3 of those guys, they would have did it. But they prioritized Kyrie and they prioritized Kevin Durant over Kristaps, and you know, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then to come to find out, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving didn't want to go there anyway. So, or they probably did want to go there. It's just the Knicks don't have good management. They don't make the right moves, and I'm pretty sure that's the one thing players don't want, is to be on a team that makes poor managerial decisions. So, you know.
They happen, but you are forced to reflect upon the times, the days, and the weeks, and the months leading up to the decision that happened yesterday, and then when you pull it all together.
This is what you call a fandom mental breakdown. I mean, this dude is looking like an idiot fake crying on TV about a sports team.
You realize that the New York Knicks, once again, got in their own damn way.
Yes.
And now we're talking about the Mecca. It's supposed to be Madison Square Garden. It's supposed to be.
See, people keep calling the New York Knicks the Mecca of basketball. And sure, I'm pretty sure the reason why they call it that is because just the media coverage is such a large market that is looked at as almost a place with extreme mystique, and really is not. I mean, really, it should be a road team's favorite place to play. What was it? LeBron and Steph Curry both put up 50, almost 60 points on this team, and Madison Square Garden. Like it's they're saying it like it's supposed to intimidate people, and it doesn't. I'm trying to think. There was this story I remember. It was about the Charlotte Bobcats, and one of the players on the Bobcats. They were playing home, and he had a really good game, and he said that this is my house, and then and based on their record, which they had one of the worst records in NBA history, based on their record, the one of the players on the other team said this is everybody's house, and that's how I feel about. That's how I feel about the Knicks being in Madison Square Garden. If you're a good enough player, man, you could go in there and put up 30, 40, maybe even 50 points and destroy them. And for some reason, people that are Knicks fans are still going to look at Madison Square Garden like it's a sacred ground or some shit like that. It's funny, man. And the Knicks in history have never been a super competitive franchise for an extended period of time. They had their spurts in history where they were super competitive. It's not like the Lakers, who pretty much played extremely great basketball for huge chunks of time during 4, maybe 5 decades. I mean, come on, man. It's not the same thing.
Down Manhattan. Where's the bright lights, big city, Broadway? And instead, it's the Barclays Center off Atlantic Avenue.
Because management is better. Look, another reason why, and I can see why Kevin Durant would choose to go there instead, is because this team made the playoffs last year when nobody expected them to. D'Angelo Russell played well last year. I mean, I'm pretty sure Kyrie could destroy things there. And if you could get Kevin Durant in a timely manner, I mean, I'm not saying this team is a championship favorite, but they're at least up for consideration if everything falls in place for them. I still think they're a couple of moves away from even being close to being a championship contender.
In Brooklyn, New York, that gives new meaning to conjecture. Big city, Broadway, and instead, it's the Barclays Center off Atlantic Avenue.
Why the fuck is Richard Jefferson doing any of that? I'm pretty sure it's some shit that I don't like, that I'm not privy to the reason why he's making these faces, but I don't know, man. The Knicks have issues, man, and they need to figure their shit out. That they got the same problem the Lakers have, where they think just everybody wants to go there because it's the Lakers and it's the Knicks. No.
Brooklyn, New York, that gives new meaning to congestion. Okay? Nobody cared. Kevin Durant didn't care. Kyrie Irving didn't care. I got Jay-Z calling, laughing at me. Come on over. Come on home, bro. Come on home. No, I mean,
Jay-Z wasn't calling ass. Listen, the reason why players don't look at the Lakers and look at the Knicks the same way is because of poor management decisions. That's it. That's all it is. When you fuck up every opportunity you have to improve your team, and you make every bad choice possible, and your team is in the shitter for years, yeah, you're not going to be looked at as an attractive option, but because they think they're in a large market like LA and New York, people are just going to want to be there. You have to make better choices. Man. I'm sorry.
Brett and Michael Yormack saying up. Listen, Brett's doing a great job running the Nets now. His brother, Live Nation, Rock Nation, all that connection. All right, they had a lot to do with this. Give them props. Sean Marks, outstanding job. Kenny Atkinson, outstanding job. But the New York Knicks, I mean, I can't think of a worse day in history for the New York Knicks franchise than today. I cannot.
I can. When they traded everything for fucking Carmelo Anthony. That was the start of their descent into the basement. And yeah, they had a couple years where the Knicks were competitive, but they were just living on borrowed time until the reality of their situation finally caught up to them. And they still didn't get out of what they thought they were going to get out of that Carmelo trade. I think that was a terrible trade. I think that was just stupid. And then, like, I remember back then, people were saying, why did they trade for him when they could have just went after him in free agency? And he said he wanted to beat her anyway. But I could kind of understand, because if you look at Paul George this past season, or the off season before, reports were talking about he was going to the Lakers. He was going to team up with LeBron. There's no way he's staying in OKC. And then what did he do? He stayed in OKC because he liked it there. So, I mean, anything could have happened, and that's what makes me kind of understand. But you trade so much. You trade so much for Carmelo when you didn't even have to give up that much. I'm pretty sure the Nuggets just wanted to get rid of him, before he became a free agent. Before the deadline came up and before he became a free agent, y'all could have just traded something sufficient. They gave up a lot for him. A lot.
Okay, so let's move on. Where do they go from here? See, my opinion is this. They need to kind of change. If you have this lottery mentality that we're going to go get a number one pick, that we're going to go get all of these things, do they just need to start building?
Well, that's what they left out the most.
What I think the Knicks should do is what I think a lot of teams in the NBA should do instead of bitching about, star players don't want to play here. Listen, you fix your player development. You try to hire a coach. You stick with that coach. A lot of these franchises, they hire these coaches. If the coach doesn't fix their team in 1 or 2 years, they're ready to move on to a different coach instead of just trying to find the right coach that for the system that you want. Find the right coach that you trust. Let him do his job and see sometimes improvement doesn't happen immediately. You need to be patient with it. And a lot of these teams aren't patient. You need to fix your player development system. You need to find a head coach that can actually get the job done over a long period of time. Actually, offer a coach 4 or 5 years and let him finish out the 4 or 5 years. And if the team doesn't improve, you move on. If your team doesn't improve, then you may have found your coach. And develop these. This is what Golden State did. Instead of bitching about players didn't want to come play here, you know what they did? They drafted Steph. They drafted Draymond. They drafted Harrison Barnes. They drafted Klay Thompson. And Mark Jackson put that team together. Stitched it together with the pieces they had and made it into a comfortable ass blanket. And then, and then everything else is history. Between great moves, roster moves, and a pretty good player development system, boom, this team turned into a championship team within the next 5 years. So, I don't know, man. It's easy, man. It's just people are idiots, man. To be honest. So let's finish.
Most important word. You're saying that they need to exercise what? Patience.
Patience.
He's saying patience.
I'm not saying
there you go, patience. A lot of these teams don't have it. They think because a player doesn't live up to, look at Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball is a great example of just impatience and honestly terrible player development. Lonzo came into the league his rookie year. Luke Walton kept taking him out in the fourth quarter, wasn't letting him really build up a rhythm with the offense. But when Lonzo was on the floor, the team was playing at a far better cohesive level than when he wasn't on the floor. And then what happened his second year? LeBron comes there, completely takes the ball out of Lonzo's hands, effectively puts him on the bench. And the only reason, what they did to that kid was criminal. Just like what happened with Markelle Fultz in Philadelphia. What they did with Lonzo was criminal. And I think the only reason why I could see why they did what they did was because of LeVar Ball. And the fact that LeVar couldn't keep his mouth shut. And it pretty much affected the playing time that it pretty much affected the playing time that his son had. So, that was criminal. And this is what I'm talking about, patience. If they were more patient with Lonzo, if they were able to drown out what the fuck LeVar was saying, and they focused on making this kid the best, I still think Lonzo could be a better player than what he is now. A far better player. So, I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. Hopefully he gets his chances in New Orleans. I'm pretty sure they didn't trade Anthony Davis for Lonzo without expecting Lonzo to have a higher potential than what people think he has.
Patience. I'm saying, how do you go
that's
about
what that is.
Yeah,
Let me tell you right now. That is a patient approach.
Let me tell you right now. The New York Knicks, it's over. I'm talking about the allure, the brand.
I've been saying that
what
for
I'm talking about
years.
For a lot of teams, the allure is over. For the Lakers, the Knicks especially, it's over. Y'all don't have the same mystique anymore. Your name isn't your brand that's going to bring in these players anymore. And it wasn't even bringing it, they made great decisions, trading for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, signing Shaq, Trading for Kobe on draft day. You know, drafting Magic Johnson. I mean, they made good decisions, man. Signing Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, look.
Doesn't matter. Today,
yeah, it died yesterday.
The Brooklyn Nets took over New York, and here's why. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're a better team.
That has a significant impact on what they're doing. The fact that you could take D'Angelo Russell, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Spencer Dinwiddie, what's the other guy's name? Joe Harris. You could take these guys and you could turn them into a playoff team. And sure, the East is weak, all this other shit. The East were far better this year. The East was a far better conference this year. And they made the playoffs, just like the Magic made the playoffs, just like the Pistons made the playoffs.
Everything to do with it. If they were last year, they were a better team. So what? Yeah. They got young guys, nice parts, and they played together. They went.
Why are you saying it like it's so what? They had great talent that was so cohesive with one another that the chemistry was just off the charts, that they were good enough to make the playoffs. So what about all that? Who needs that? Like, that's what you said? Like, you dismissing it like it's not a big factor. Come on, bro.
To the playoffs. No. That doesn't usurp a brand like the New York Knicks. What you
Making the playoffs does not usurp the brand of the New York Knicks. Stephen A is hilarious, man. And I love how he go on these emotional tangents and he just starts saying all this shit that he really feels. He probably really feels like this shit is true. But it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like, look at the Lakers and the Clippers. The Clippers made the playoffs and the Lakers didn't. And now the Clippers might get Kawhi Leonard. Although Kawhi wanted to go there, but if Kawhi goes there, now you're looking at the Clippers on a far bigger level than the Lakers, man. And now, I'm telling you, man, let the Clippers get Kawhi and they win the title this upcoming season. Or at least be in the NBA Finals. I don't know, man. I think it's over for the Lakers, man. Until LeBron leaves.
And it's when the stars say, we'd rather go someplace else other than with you. And by the way, I'm going to play it. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to be the first to say it now. I root for them, not just because I'm a Knicks fan or whatever. I'm a black man. President Steve Mills.
Of course, because everything has to be racial nowadays. Unless you could come on TV and say, I'm a black man. You just, what is it? What's the word that people like to use? Coon? You're a coon? No, you don't have to, you don't have to root for a team because you're a black man and they have black management in the front office. Come on, man. I would rather expect a team to win or want a team to win because of smart, savvy business moves than because they hired a black coach. That's so stupid. That's a dumb reason to root for a team. That's dumb. That's a dumb reason to be a fan of a team. And this is why most fans are fucking idiots, man.
General Manager Scott Perry, Coach David Fizdale. These are star players who happen to be black.
But they're not players. They're management. Fizdale is a coach. They're not players. And they're damn sure not stars. Stars is... You know who's a star? Jerry West. Masai Ujiri. Those are stars. Because they make phenomenal moves. Danny Ainge. They make phenomenal moves. They almost pull a rabbit out of the fucking hat. Those are stars. Not David Fizdale. Not fucking Steve Mills. Come on, man.
Didn't get an interview. I mean, this is a very, very, very bad day. Very bad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm trying to be cool. And listen, I like those guys. I respect the hell out of them. I know they know their basketball. I root for them, etc. But what the Nets pulled off yesterday, they said, you know what? New York City, the Knicks, they've let you down. Let them go. Come to us.
And everything he just said there in those last 20 seconds are either true or has very good points attached to them. The Knicks have let Knicks fans down for years. I can't tell you how many times in the off season or during the regular season Stephen A. Smith has come on TV and has cried and complained about the Knicks, and then Max Kellerman, who's also a New York fan, would make fun of the Knicks, and he would almost attach every stupid thing that he could think of, attach it to their name, to then turn their name, their brand, into something idiotic. I was watching Family Guy years ago, and they had a joke on there where, for anybody that watches, I'm about to start using some names for anybody that watches. I'm pretty sure a lot of people watch Family Guy, but Carter Peterschmidt, the guys went to Carter Peterschmidt for some money. I think like $5,000 or $10,000 or something like that. So he put $5,000 or $10,000 inside of a blender, blended it up, and then drank it. And he said in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna piss away. Oh, he said in about 5 minutes, I'm gonna piss away $10,000. And then Quagmire said, "What, you gonna bet on the Knicks?" Because the Knicks name is just a joke now. Because they think that they can keep living on being in New York and being in a large market to get them these players. You can't. Just like the Lakers are gonna become a joke pretty soon. Do you think that them missing the playoffs this year was just by happenstance? Like, this shit wasn't in the making? That shit was in the making, man. They were going to miss the playoffs. So, I'm going to end it here, man, because, you know, I can only take Stephen A. yelling and screaming about the Knicks or about the Giants for so long before I just say, you know what, I'm good. But, yeah, man, like, you have to make better decisions, man. You can't expect people to just look at you like some omnipotent figure and just expect that to be, you know, what gets you what you want. It's not going to be that. You have to listen, man. I believe that if they really wanted Kevin Durant and they wanted to prove to Kevin Durant that he, you know, they wanted him there, they would FaceTime this nigga, or they would fly to Kevin Durant, wherever Kevin Durant lives. They would fly to him and try to set up a fucking meeting. Don't sit there and expect him to come to you. This is the problem, man. All right. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing something else about this situation, man, because I'm pretty sure this is the end of it. Free agency isn't over. There's still a lot of players that are left. So I'm pretty sure this isn't over. All right.